participate in this incredible renaissance that's happening in Zimbabwe from a real estate and property standpoint. Whether we're coming in at just individual levels, purchasing property for yourselves, for family, or even coming in to participate at an investor level. I won't talk too much about my background. I think that that extensive bio that was read did more justice than I would have. But just to say, I was born and raised in Zimbabwe. Raised in Harare, but born in Bulawayo, so I'm really a Zimbabwean kid. I first left Zimbabwe to go to university in the United States. So I studied in the States, then moved back to Zimbabwe and was based there for 10 years before moving back to the United States. So I really am someone who considers themselves to live in both places, so to speak. Our company, Velda Estates, has been in existence for just a few years, and we're grateful and proud to have been part of this journey and for the milestones that we've been able to experience over the last few years. I was taught once upon a time never ever to waste a captive audience. And so I'm going to start the first portion of my presentation by just telling you a little bit more about us as Velda Estates and our projects that we're working on. And then I will pivot and talk to you a little bit about how to best engage with developers and how to kind of make sure that you're making sound decisions. We've seen, the last, if you've been active on social media or in the news the last several weeks, hearing stories about properties in Zimbabwe, especially around Harare, that have been deemed to be irregular at law. Properties sometimes that are being demolished, or people being given very limited time to vacate properties that that they thought belonged to them, and so on. So I'll touch on a few things that I think would be useful for us all to know and to understand, just as you're trying to make decisions and navigate the property space yourself. I know we've got that QR code that's circulating to be able to win an iPhone, iPad, and so on. Also just want to mention to please don't leave without stopping by the Velda Estates stand, because we do have a code you can scan and you stand a chance to win 1 year's supply of Masoro. And we have the Masoro with us here, so we will leave you with them today. As a developer at Velda Estates, we specialize in gated communities. A lot of what we're doing is informed by what we've seen working in different parts of the world, in the diaspora, and kind of understanding that a lot of the market needs to shift in that direction. So we're developing gated communities, but are also trying to intentionally meet kind of a need that we think exists. I don't know what Ms. Patience will speak about in her presentation, but I know that when you talk to people in Zimbabwe, they talk about the market. You'll understand that, for example, if you have $40,000, and you want to buy a property in Zimbabwe, most likely you'd have to buy something, Glenview, Kwazana, Buliri, or high density, if we're talking about properties in Harare. And then once you've bought a property in that category, and you kind of want to go to the next step up, so to speak, there's not much available in between, that and maybe you buying a house with waterfalls or vapor rain or something like that. And usually, today in this market, as Mr. Manzima was saying, you could easily need $150,000 to be able to kind of buy that property in that next step up. So there's almost this like $100,000 gap where there isn't, there are not many options that are high quality. And so what we've done as Velda Estates is try to provide options that are in that space, that are of value, that allow people to move into homes that are beautiful, that they can be proud of, but also where safety and comfort are catered to or provided. So most of what we will do, will allow you to buy a stand and build a house, and be all in somewhere between $65,000 and $85,000, all in, and with title deeds and all that good stuff. So please do come and see us at our stand if you haven't done so already. We have two developments at the moment that we're working on. Our first one is a development called Spitzberg Gardens. And I just want to introduce you to it really quickly. This video is just a little bit over 1 minute long, but if you can just check it out, just so you can see what we've got going on. This is our most advanced development. We expect building to start at this one in the next month, and we're quite excited with the progress that we've made there. Say we're probably over 95% done in terms of all the servicing for this particular project. A total of about 240 stands all in that we've been selling there, and still have a handful of stands left, but not much at all. So if you're looking for something that you can start building very soon, come see us about this one. Gated community, fence all the way around, boreholes, we've taken care of. There's water, there's a solution for sewer, for everything. In Spitzberg Gardens. Then we have a second development we just announced a few months ago called Christopher Muse, and we're excited because just a few days ago we got our final approval that we needed from the authorities to allow us to start servicing those stands. And so this month of July we'll actually start, trenching, digging, and start the work that needs to happen to service these stands. And this property is just 800 meters or so, 1 kilometer away from the Spitzberg Gardens development, which is just off Bulawayo Road, about 20 minutes from town. And so I'll show you this digital kind of rendering of what this community will look like when it's done.
Velda Estates is proud to introduce Christopher Muse. Located just 20 minutes from Harare CBD, using Bulawayo Road, Christopher Muse is a highly sought after gated community. This development is located just a couple of minutes away from Spitzberg Gardens, Velda Estates' highly acclaimed fresh development. Inside this development, with title deeds, is 140 residential stands with a mix of high-quality apartments for those that want to live in this community but do not want a yard to maintain. From pre-approved contemporary architectural design to spacious streetscapes and landscape surroundings, every detail has been carefully crafted to create a place families are proud to call home. Enjoy elegant interiors, modern finishes, and beautifully designed living spaces built for comfort, connection, and everyday living. With secure access, a peaceful environment, and a vibrant community atmosphere, this is where convenience meets tranquility. This is Christopher Muse.
And then the last one, it's a short one.
Do you want to know what it's like to live in a gated community developed by Velda Estates? Imagine this. You drive home after a long day at work. You drive through the gate into your gated community, and the security guard that you recognize waves at you as you drive through because he recognizes you too. It's after dark, but the tarred roads in your development are brightly lit by powerful solar streetlights. It's so bright and so safe that you notice a couple of your neighbors walking around the development just for exercise. At night, as you pull up to your house, you notice that the bins that you left outside when you went to work have been collected, and you're so grateful for the Velda Estates Homeowners Association that takes care of these little details for you. You turn into your driveway and pull up to your gorgeous house. You built it, you did it. You still can't believe that you bought the stand for just $25,000 and built the house for just $50,000. As you walk into your house, you find your kids sitting at the dining room table doing their homework. They've already showered and are in their pajamas. They shower every night because water is not a problem in your development. Then you remember that you forgot to buy bread for your children's sandwiches for school tomorrow. And then you smile because you know you can just go outside the development, the shops that Velda Estates has put in place, and pick up the loaf of bread and maybe even fill up your tank with fuel. Again, so grateful that Velda Estates has thought about all these conveniences for you. This is the lifestyle you can expect when you move into a Velda Estates gated community. Trustworthy security, incredibly maintained infrastructure, and world-class service delivery. Rakarogeka of Velda Estates.
Thank you. Just wanted to share those to really help you understand kind of the vision behind our development and what we're trying to do for the country of Zimbabwe, for our city, Harare, and just for our brothers and sisters that we know want quality housing and quality infrastructure, but also affordable, flexible kind of payment options. Now I'm going to pivot and just talk to you really quickly about the developer journey, just to help you understand the journey that we travel as developers. I want to do this because I know there may be others in the room that maybe are considering becoming developers and want some details and want to understand that. So this is your free lesson. The next one we'll charge, but today it's on the house. But also I think for those of you that are looking to buy property for yourselves or for your families, I think understanding this journey is helpful to kind of help you avoid the pitfalls that do exist that have gotten a lot of people into trouble in this property space. So as a developer, the journey that we traveled is we have to purchase, or at least we as Velda Estates, we will only purchase a property that has a title deed, a parent deed that we've been able to verify. It's an important first step. There are many ways that you can buy property in and around Zimbabwe, but as a developer for ourselves, because we want to sell stands that guarantee title deeds to every single person that buys from us, this is the journey that we walk, and this is the journey that any developer typically will have to walk if they want to be able to sell stands or property in the title deeds. So title and parent deed is an important first step, and we do our best to do due diligence and verify that the deed is legitimate, that there are no issues, no disputes and things like that are on a particular property. The next step, sometimes is we need something called a letter of authority. This is specific to if we're going into a joint venture or something typically in the development. If it's an outright purchase, then we may not necessarily need that letter of authority. Next thing that we'll need is something that's issued by the government through the Ministry of Lands, and that's called a certificate of no present interest. In other words, when we're buying land, especially because a lot of the developments that are coming up around Harare are kind of on the outskirts, encroaching into what used to be farmland, decades ago. It used to be outside the city limits. A lot of those properties do have title deeds and things like that, and we can buy them and we are able to develop on them, but we still need to get the government to issue what's called a certificate of no present interest. In other words, this is the government indicating in writing that the government, they have no intention to acquire that land or that farm for any purpose other than what we, for any purpose at all, really. So that's an important piece of documentation. After that, we have to apply for what's called a subdivision permit. Subdivision permit is essentially permission again from the government to subdivide, this 20, 30, 50, 100, 200 hectare property into stands, for residential, commercial purposes, and so on. And this is a critical document in this process. Then we also have to apply for what's called a general plan. Again, that's the next step. And I'm outlining these intentionally like this as information so that if you are looking to buy a stand or property from a developer, we'd love for you to buy from us, but even if you're going to buy from somebody else, these are all documents that they should be able to show you, or that they should be able to show your attorney if you send someone, your lawyer, to do, for due diligence. And so just wanting to give you a little bit of that inside information. Okay. After the general plan, we apply for what's called a dispensation certificate. And you see that asterisk next to that dispensation certificate because that's a critical document as part of the title deeds process. So make sure if you're going to buy that the developer can show you that dispensation certificate. Then you see the development permit that's required, the environment impact assessment that's issued by the entity called EMA in Zimbabwe. And then once all the servicing is done, so you saw in the first video that I showed where we've now got roads, stormwater drainage, we've got water, for the development and so on. You then get to apply for what's called a certificate of compliance. Once you're issued that certificate of compliance by the local authority, that gives you permission for all the stand owners, the buyers. It gives them permission to start building, and it gives you permission as a developer, to kind of help start the process for those that want to obtain title deeds and so on. So that certificate of compliance is extremely critical as well, and you want to make sure that if the developer doesn't have that document just yet, that they're on a path to getting that document. And then once that's done, from the developer side of things, for the most part, the technical journey is complete. So with our first development, Spitzko Gardens, we're at that stage now where we should hopefully get our compliance certificate in the next several weeks. And then for Christopher Muse, the new development we're working on, we just finally got that environment impact assessment document a few days ago. And so it's time for us to go to work and start to turn the vision to reality. Just a few valuable tips for any prospective buyer that's in the audience today. Be serious about your due diligence. I tell people all the time, if you need to pay a lawyer a few $100s to help you with the due diligence, rather pay that money and get confirmation before you part with your hard-earned cash. In property, and just like in anything else, typically, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. Buy stands from reputable developers, like Velda Estates. But there are others, to be fair, that are doing things the right way as well. But be sure you're buying from a reputable developer. One of the ways you can also know if a developer is reputable, if they have other estate agents that are helping them sell, and they have reputable estate agents that are helping them sell. So we've gotten a lot of help from CIF Properties and CBZ Properties, to name a few. And that's one of those things that kind of a signal, that these people have their documentation in place, because I can promise you, CIF and CBZ Properties will not touch a development that they think is going to cause problems for buyers down the road. Buy early for your best returns. When I was here 12 months ago, a year ago, we were just starting with our service in the Spitzko Gardens, and we were selling our stands at that point for just over $50 per square meter. Today, the stands, those very same stands, are selling for $85 per square meter, and once we get our compliance certificate in a few weeks' time, it wouldn't surprise me if the price ends up being $100, $110 even per square meter. So those that bought from us a year ago at that $52, $53 a square meter have essentially seen their investment appreciate by 60-70% in 12 months, simply because they signed on the dotted line a year ago and they've just been making their installments. Because what happens is, as the pricing goes up, as we increase our prices as developers, we don't come back to you as a buyer and try to renegotiate. Whatever price you purchased at, that price is locked in. So keep that in mind as you're looking to make investments. And then, last of all, just be patient. Rushing and trying to take shortcuts is never a recipe for success. Things that you need to make sure you're protected when you're negotiating or trying to look at a purchase of a stand. Make sure your property either has the certificate of compliance or is on a path to it. But don't work with anyone that tells you can start building before this certificate of compliance is out. That can be a red flag, and I think that's actually been made illegal as of recently now. Make sure the approvals are done even when you're building your own property. Don't take shortcuts, get the approvals done through your local authority as needed. And then also don't allow anyone to tell you can move into a property before there's a certificate of compliance, because a lot of those stories you're hearing of people whose homes are being demolished and things like that are happening, I can promise you, if you go to the people, the developers that sold them those stands, and you start to ask them for those documents that I just listed, they have a number of those documents that they cannot produce. And that's really what's gotten people into hot water. And I'd hate for anyone else to find themselves in that situation. And then finally, as soon as you can, if you have the capacity, make sure you apply for your title deeds, and our legal practitioners, maybe we'll touch on that later, but that's an essential part of the process, and really will help you protect yourself. I will stop right there. I hope this has been useful. It's been my pleasure to be able to get in front of you this afternoon. We'll be here at our stand for the rest of the afternoon, and please come and see us. We'd love to tell you more about what we have, because Jagaro Geta with the Velda Estates.
Beautiful presentation. If you have questions for you, please just jot them down. He's going to be part of the panel, and then you can ask further questions regarding either Velda Estates or what you spoke on. I'm a bit moved because I